I'm Paul Carroll. I'm the editor-in-chief at Insurance Thought Leadership and at our Innovator's Edge platform. I'm delighted to be here today with Nick Leimer, who is the insurance lead for Microsoft's cloud business, Azure, which is going gangbusters. I've always had a soft spot in my heart for Microsoft, going all the way back to 1986 when I started covering IBM for the Wall Street Journal. Second day on the beat, a colleague said, there's this guy in from Seattle, he's got this software company, do you want to have dinner with him? I thought, sure, and it was Bill Gates. So we got to know each other quite well over the years. He was very helpful to me on a number of projects, including the first book I did. So the residual affection or whatever transfers to Nick here today. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me here.
Just to start out, could you tell us a little bit about how you guys are thinking about insurance and the cloud and how you see companies migrating their back office to the cloud?
Okay, great. I always want to start this off. We are not an insurance company. We have no interest in becoming an insurance company.
Okay, people will be happy to know that.
We will never become an insurance company. I know some of our competitors are sort of putting their toes in the water and then trying things out. We're not going to do that. We're here to support insurance companies, software providers and partners and everybody across the entire ecosystem for insurance to give them tools to do their job better. I think Satya said it the best, says we're not trying to be the cool kids, we're trying to make the people we work with be the cool kids. So we're trying to give you the tools in the cloud that can deliver the solutions that meet your clients' needs.
And it seems to me that companies have a fairly fundamental decision. They can try to go figure out blockchain and AI and analytics and all these other things on their own, or they can try to come to you and have you guys have figured that out for them and put it in the cloud. Is that right?
So we have a whole series of solutions we support. So for blockchain, for example, we support 40 plus different solutions that people can go and try right now. We have a thing called Workbench, which you can pretty much make your own blockchain and play around with it in a day. I mean, it's when you can set up and play around, okay, this works, this doesn't work, and you kind of get you around that sort of POC stuff right away. And there was a whole series of partners that are working with that have maybe enterprise versions that you could easily scale up. So we try to cover the full gamut so that people can easily get started, or if they're working with a partner, they can leverage those same solutions.
It almost seems to me that the cloud is the new version of the operating system back in the day. I mean, when I was dealing with Microsoft early on, something even like a clock was separate on an early personal computer, and then all that got sucked into the operating system. And I assume that's sort of what you're trying to do with the cloud.
I think what we're trying to do in the cloud is really do that whole sort of ecosystem and connect all the pieces. So we're looking at, any new technology stack that someone needs, we want to make sure we supply something that can meet those needs. So if that's, storage, we have sort of a whole series of new high-end ways people move data in and out of their current data centers or migrate their current data centers to the cloud. We have partners that we're working with as well as there's certain things we can do directly with customers, but it's sort of that B2B solution that we're really pushing.
Right.
And trying to get all those partners on our platform and so we can cross-sell and promote them as well. So that's really, from startups to long-established companies, we want to make sure that they are there on the cloud and in our marketplace so people can easily connect with them, either buy them directly or just be an entry point for their further sales.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but my impression is that cloud used to be sort of winner take all. If somebody migrated to cloud, they tend to do it with one, but now people are talking about multiple cloud solutions.
Yeah, so a lot of especially the major insurance companies, multiple cloud solutions, there's a lot of we love to have everybody on Azure, but we realize that people do sometimes they have a hard time moving things off of their on-prem server, so we have hybrid solutions where they can do all their PII work on their on-prem and then do all their calculations bursting to the cloud, or then we can move everything to the cloud, or if they have some of their streams of solutions or in other clouds, that's fine too, and it's all designed to be fluid to be able to match all those people together.
And security has been an issue that people have raised because a lot of people think that on-premises systems are more secure, which certainly used to be true. I'm gathering that's not true anymore.
So I'm relatively new to Microsoft, started in January. At my previous employer, all I was doing was moving their data centers and compute grids to the cloud. And we would get those same discussions. Well, what's safer here? What if this happens? It's in the cloud, so it's backed up, it's geo-redundant. You look at from a security perspective, we, our cloud provider like Microsoft has security staff that are looking at threats globally 24/7. We have a huge team doing that proactively. And then compare that to some of your local IT team that you have a limited amount of staff that maybe are actually take time off. So they're not there if something was happening. How would they know if there was a threat coming out of Malaysia or Indonesia? We have people on that right away. So from both a security perspective, certification, and if you're a global company and need to have multiple locations because of sovereignty issues, all the main countries that have sovereignty issues like Indonesia and China, for example, and then across the European Union, we have data centers in those countries. So you can address that, can't move the data out of the country, great, we've got a data center there that you can use.
And just as a bit of background, which I'd invite you to correct me on or modify, I was interested to be involved in writing a book on strategy a couple years ago, where the authors focused on the fact that Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, who you mentioned, really made his name on the cloud. He ran a business unit at Microsoft. The cloud was a tiny little piece of it many years ago. He looked at that, said, this is where I'm investing all my time. It became huge, and that really is what got him to the position he's in now. So I'm assuming that the cloud is an enormous focus for Microsoft.
It is. Cloud first is, we have all the options to support just in infrastructure and on-prem servers as well for people that don't want to move, but all the technology, all the improvements are happening in the cloud. And we're trying to encourage everyone to move to the cloud for things we just talked about, for both security, business continuity, et cetera. So those sorts of things are really important. Our technologies will work in different locations, but we're really focusing everything on the cloud going forward.
So I know you've been speaking here at InsurTech Connect and haven't had a chance to wander the floor much, but are there any particularly interesting technology trends you see, whether based on what you've been able to gather here or elsewhere, that you think people ought to be watching out for?
Well, I'm always interested in IoT, and I think when I talk to some people about IoT, it's like, oh, it's just sort of out and, it's like futuristic or something. It's like, some of those sensors have been around you for ever. There's certain sensors, they may have not been connected, something like a smoke detector. You would make sure that every house you lived in had one, or sprinkler systems that turned on if there was a fire. Those sort of things that may not have been connected that are now connected. It just has added benefits to your life, really. It's things you expect there to be there. And I think as people become more aware of that, and insurers are pushing that, but I think the value of IoT devices is more than assessing risk. It's really adding benefit to your customer. So I think if people sort of separate that as I'm adding benefits and to the customer, either that's commercial or personal, having those IoT devices to really help your customer live better. It's really more of a service than a insurance. You can use that same data to assess risk.
Right.
But it's really, how do you mitigate risk? How do you improve those people, their life? Really, it's really a life service kind of thing, more than just a monitor to assess risk and set premiums.
So I'm always amazed at the way technology develops. We tend to think of these things as issues that pop up overnight. But in fact, I first wrote about RFID tags in the Wall Street Journal, which are the basis for a lot of these sensors, back in 1989. I actually had a very good month because I also wrote about an early version of the cloud in 1989.
Okay.
And the same week wrote about 3D printing. So
Okay.
I don't know where I was doing in November of 1989.
The aliens come and visit you and say, hey, this is going to happen. Yeah.
So anyway, this is great. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.